ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gays and straights, it is time to celebrate the beginning of a new era of number 189 of the off nights, a time when comedians who aren't working get together to ruminate about everything in the world we're interested in, and we want you to join us. And now it gives me great pleasure, but I can't do it here because the police are outside. It gives me great pleasure to introduce your host and master of ceremonies, Mr. Mark Sweetman.
Hey, everybody. I'm getting reflection off my glasses. I don't need those. I'm close to the screen. I can see everything. Welcome to the off night. Thanks for that great introduction, Sam Greenfield. Let me bring Sam right out here. Let me see here. Okay, here he comes.
You don't need to hear anything?
Well, Jason, God love him, my technical advisor, helped me with the sound before all you got here, because I did have that echo again that I thought.
And now you don't.
Now I don't. So here we are. I don't have the green screen because ever since I started using the iPad, which is great for sound, great for picture, but it doesn't use the green screen. So I've just set. Now we have my blinds behind me, behind my kitchen table here. It's not like we're that cramped. The table can move a little bit more than this, but I put it right up against the blinds here for that. And it's my little studio. It has been now for 188 episodes, and here we're at 189. Did you think we'd ever do it? 189 episodes. How about that? Anyway, any news, Sam, before we go on? You're replacing Andy. Andy usually gives us a little update on how things are going in his
I
life.
saw it's funny. People are talking about the decision about towards Giuliani, with the two women who he defamed and demeaned and lied about, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, and the judge awarded them $155 million. Now, I'm not privy to Mr. Giuliani's bank account, but there's a better chance I could cut him a check. I mean, he doesn't have that money. He just put his co-op up for sale.
He's doing what is it? I can't remember who the commentator was. Says if you're doing Cameos, that app where you give greetings for people, the celebrities that give greetings. He says, if you're doing Cameos, you do not have $150 million.
I'd be willing to bet you he doesn't have 1.5 million.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, anyway, we can get to that and other things, but let's get to Susan, my lovely bride of 40 and a half years.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that something? 40 and a half years. Every
let
week
me ask
now.
You something. What's it like to be happy? Somebody tell me.
Anyway. I don't know.
Please, you two guys seem sympathetic.
We're married 40 years. It only feels like 60.
Yeah.
That's funny because I feel like I'm 80. So
we have.
Oh, I'm so.
We have talked so many times because we get into when we fight to other people, it sounds hilarious, and we have thought about recreating the Bickersons. And the Bickersons, I believe, might be very close to the 75 years.
They are. They're public.
They're public domain now, so we can take the
always 75 years.
So funny. Funny.
Time that they fall under wasn't that long. Wasn't the 70 years that it's now. So
my favorite line of theirs is when his wife says, "How can you complain about me spending money? You just went out and bought new shoes. These aren't shoes, Blanche. I painted my feet black." I still remember that.
One guy wrote all of those.
I know.
And it was easy to do. He was a staff writer on the show they run, and it was the Palmolive or Colgate or something like that. It was some soap sponsored some radio show they did, and they only had 10 minutes every week.
So hilarious.
Yeah. Great stuff.
By the way, I just picked up. I was staying at my niece's house for the unveiling of my sister, and of her gravestone, and I saw she has copies of The Far Side. You talk about funny. Oh man, there's one Far Side where
you can buy a calendar of The Far Side with 360.
Where a bird comes into the house drunk. it's if the family are birds,
Yes.
and the wife says, look at you, out all night, bobbing along.
All right, well, let's let Susan read her poem.
Please, yes.
Sam, you're still going to be on sound, but we're going to put.
I
Susan
understand.
On
I will applaud knowingly.
Here's my bride with the news of the week.
All right, here we go. The Vatican approves blessings for same-sex couples. Also in the news, how expensive are truffles? Anglo-Americans' mine ruined land 1925 through 1974, but the court kicked the class action lawsuit right out the door. In Tunisia, 3 people were killed repairing a wall, and 2 more were injured when the restoration did fall. Officer in Kenya rescued victims of genital mutilation, I've learned. For his advocacy, he was stoned to death and his body burned.
Figures.
In an attempt to get the girls, angry mob stormed the station. Remaining cops protected the girls without any hesitation. Christmas is coming, you'd better beware. Not everything is on sale out there. There are scams galore, so watch your purse. We've reached the end of my poem and the end of my verse.
That's good stuff.
Susan,
really good.
Excuse me. Did you say that the guy who was about to mutilate them was stoned and burned?
No, the police officer rescued
The girls.
6 young women who were victims of female genital mutilation.
Right.
And my understanding is this was in Kenya, and in the police station, an angry mob came in. They managed to get that officer. He'd spent a lot of his career advocating for women's rights. Apparently,
And they killed him.
They got a hold of him. They stoned him to death. They burned his body. However, they were trying to kidnap the 6 women and were unsuccessful. And these women are now recovering in a hospital.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that places like Kenya and Uganda are so virulently anti-women and anti-gay. I mean, to the point of beyond anything I can imagine. I mean, it makes anything you see in this country tolerable.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Women are blamed for men not being able to control themselves. So,
but it's also against homosexuality also, which I guess they feel is feminine, I guess. But it's amazing. I mean, the virulence. It's not just that they're not homophobic. They're homicidally homophobic.
Yeah, well, that means that means sexual and gender identities rate above life and liberty.
Yeah, exactly.
So in other words, they probably think they're doing them a favor. They probably feel they're better off dead than to be gay or
which leads me to, speaking of mutilation, how about those commanders?
Good segue.
Everything always comes back to a Washington sports team and eventually to the Washington sports team's owner.
When they move, they won't be in town. They won't be a Washington team anymore.
The Commanders, where are they moving to?
Hello?
Yes.
Are you going to bring Jason in if you're going to talk about the news and the sports and the things?
Yeah. Well, I can see his face. The news and the sports and the things. I'm going to have to create a title for that one. Here's Jason with news and sports and things.
On Kenya and
bring him in, damn it.
I'll get him in. I'll get him in here. That's not.
Do you, Jason?
Now that I have an iPad.
Oh my God! The sigh of regret and resentment there. It's like you're channeling my father from beyond the grave, Mark.
But anyway, Sam, where are the Commanders moving?
No, the Commanders aren't. The Wizards and the Capitals are about to enter into an agreement with Virginia. By the way, it's only 5 miles from D.C.
And it's still on the subway line, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be like the Giants. It'll be like the Giants and the Jets are in New York, you know.
And how are they doing? But basketball, but basketball is a city game, and They already have a beautiful facility here. And it seats all you need to seat. It's a money grab, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
that's what it is. I tell you what, the Pistons and the Lions moved out to Pontiac and Auburn Hills, about 17 and 20 miles north of the city, but they moved back eventually. They all come back. It's
Well, Washington,
and especially
the
Washington
Wizards were in suburban Maryland for a while at the Capitol Center,
Oh, that's right.
and they came back.
Landover, Maryland.
Landover, Maryland, beautiful facility. By the way, built by A. Poland, who owned the Bullets. Then they were the Bullets, on time and under budget.
Yeah, because that same thing with the Pistons when they had the Palace out in Auburn Hills. It was built by Bill Davidson, the owner, on time, on budget, privately built, no tax money, and that thing is a parking lot now.
And torn down by the new owner. Yes, it was torn down.
It's a
by
parking.
The new owner.
Yeah, the new owner tore it down.
Yeah, if you wanted that in your poem, Mark, you just need to give me headlines.
Well, it wasn't this week's headline anyway because they Young. This is a play by Youngkin, right? Just to get some publicity.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll happen if the money's there. All the team owners get to do that. Did you see Bill Maher the other night?
No, I didn't. I was,
I did not. What's the topic? Who's the guest?
Well, he for a while he owned the Mets. He sold them during the pandemic because all the teams lost a lot of money during the pandemic. But the value of the team did not decrease, just the income, right? So he said and when he was talking about why he bought the team, he was talking to Ray Romano. Oh, we just lost Sammy.
Oh dear.
I saw him touching his screen with his hand, with his fingers there, and I think he just here he is. He's back.
Oh,
Sam is back.
Well, while he's back, I'm going to say farewell.
Okay.
And happy Hanukkah and happy
Hanukkah's
holidays,
over, I think.
everybody. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I think, are we doing a show next Monday?
We'll probably make it Tuesday. We'll let everybody know. We'll decide.
Oh, sure. For the Jew holiday. Fine.
It's our special Boxing Day show.
Yeah, right. For the Jew holiday.
Anyway,
yeah, just throw a little borscht on it. It'll be fine. Yeah. Great. Yeah. But Christmas, which isn't even the day it happened, for Christ's sake. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Avita Zane.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk.
Are you gonna cut yourself? There we go.
You know, I got removed from a Christmas show once, a comedy carol Christmas show.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was one of the funniest bits I ever wrote, and the guy said, "We're going to pay you, but people are like mad at you." I said, "Are you talking about like storming the room?" He goes, "Yes." and this is all I did. Look, hark the herald lip sings.
Oh no! Oh,
Very funny. Very funny.
It was funny, you know. I mean, true. The guy who was running the thing said to me, "I didn't think that was funny," but who knew? I didn't, you know. Oh, by the way, back to the Far Side for a second.
Yes.
One of the other ones says it shows a female boomerang talking to a male boomerang. He says, "You're not fooling anybody. You're going out for 100 yards and you'll be right back."
My favorite were the scenes from hell. One where the devil is surveying a visage of torture and lament, yet one guy's whistling while he works. And the devil says, "You know, we're just not getting through to that guy."
Oh, that's funny.
Is it just me, or does it look like I'm about to sit for a portrait by George Lincoln Rockwell?
I guess it does. Have you noticed it? Jason and I both have that light brown background that matches Sam's shirt.
There we go. Well, definitely, I got a brown shirt thing going on here. I mean, I got to work on this. I don't look good. Oh well, whatever. No one's watching. Who cares?
All right, enough about the Commanders. Those Lions are back on track.
Boy, oh boy, did they kick butt!
About damn time.
I was reading some of the Denver papers. Yesterday, and just pissed at Sean Payton for not throwing the
The
flag
towel.
for not throwing the flag at some of the calls.
It
Which
wouldn't have changed anything.
I watched that game, and I
It's
didn't see anything that would cause a
the goal line stand. The Denver fans all thought that he broke the plane on both second and
let me say something.
both
those
second and third down.
They are right on it.
I know.
And so if he did, he did. You know, they have no vested interest. God, I hope they have no vested interest in this. You know, he didn't break.
Not since that ref that fixed the NBA games, but it's never
Oh
happened.
man.
Well, if anyone will discover crooked zebras, it will be Las Vegas, because the odds maker there are so good, and they use such sophisticated software. Well, that's how they found the zebra that was fixing the basketball games.
You know,
Right.
The thing that people don't understand about bookies is that what they're looking for when they set odds is they want people who love the team to bet, and they want people who hate the team to bet. They're looking for that middle. That's what they're looking for.
They don't care.
Well, they're looking for the juice. They want to get where they're going to get money from both sides.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Miss me.
Okay.
And we have Meyer Lansky to thank for that, because he was the one who figured out that actually, if your games were fair, you actually made more money, as opposed to having games that were rigged.
Because the casinos don't want rigged games. It's the cheaters that want rigged games. It's organized crime that wants rigged games.
Exactly. I mean, and it was Lansky that figured out that, you know what? Yeah, we'll just take a little percentage off the top. We win either way. We get a slice on every bet. We get a few pennies off every pull of the one-armed bandit. We're ahead of the game. We win.
I never.
Incredibly smart man.
Yeah, when the one-armed bandits are one thing.
Yeah.
Because they can mechanically get those things, but mechanics can break down and start to fail and things like that, and people can figure out. But when they went to the digital, online, on the screen,
right?
I mean, who checks that? I mean, I would never play any of those online games. I mean, that just
no.
The only online game I think I would play is if I was betting on a sports team, because I know that's pretty fair. If I'm betting, and they make a big deal out of these apps where you have a live dealer at the blackjack table. Well, did anybody not see Capricorn 1? Everything can be fake,
You see, I'm not the only one making 50-year-old movie references. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? Yeah. I was thinking about that. What a great idea for a show that would be. And there's an audience out there for it. We should not be trying to get a global general audience. We should be getting geezers that are into old movies, old sports, old celebrities, and stuff like that. Why should we have to try to figure out who's dating Taylor Swift? Because we really don't care.
And the important thing is that once we start getting those people, we remind them there's no point in being the richest person in the cemetery. You should subscribe and send us money, because what are you going to do with it anyway?
That's a good
money,
point.
It don't spend itself. So come along, let's.
Oh, by the way, I just learned just before we went on the air, so I didn't have time to set it up, but I just found out that StreamYard now allows you to stream to Instagram. So we're going to create a off-night Instagram page.
Fantastic.
So
that's where all the kids are at. I mean, that's why I've been banned from the. I mean, yeah, I've heard. So Joe the Animal did what? He did.
Here's all right.
A faux pas
this is public now.
Right.
When I was talking about it before, we weren't on the air yet.
Okay, I mean, I'm not asking for any confidences here.
He's trying out different things. You haven't been there in a while, but he's trying out different things, and he is getting some new material.
Great.
But a couple weeks ago, we were saying, talking about the Borderline Man getting more laughs than the Joe the Animal.
Yeah.
And my point was that, Borderline Man invites the audience to laugh along with you.
Yes.
Joe the Animal is very angry.
Yeah.
And you might be putting people off with that.
Yeah.
In other words, you hear comics doing jokes about their mother and their father or their mother-in-law or their children or things. But the
Right.
thing is, you want the audience to kind of like go along with it. And I suggested to him that what you're doing is you want the audience to go along with your hatred or your disdain or your angst about the relationship with your family.
Right.
And all people get out of that is that, well, you got a horrible family life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember last year, at one point, he went off on a rant and about his mom telling him to get back underneath the stairs and whatnot. And the way he delivered it, it worked. It worked really well. He got the room on his side.
Yes.
Got him laughing, and I've never seen him do it since. And it's like, you know,
It's
you
a good.
you know how to do
it's
this.
It's a good line.
Right.
It's a good line. If he took every one of his lines, and after it, now I'm not talking about on stage, but I'm talking about as he's writing it and he's rehearsing it, and he said, and my mother said, "Get back under the stairs because I'm borderline, man."
Who are we speaking of?
Joe the Animal,
we have,
one of
we
the
have an act
comedians.
that both Jason and I know here at the Unclub that I do Sunday nights here, and he's been part of our little writing group.
Clique.
Writing clique for about 14 years now. I mean, even before I started the Unclub 10 years ago,
God.
he was part of Chili Chalice's dojo, and he created a character within his acts called Borderline Man, based on one of his diagnoses, which is borderline personality disorder. He also has ADHD and Tourette's and autism and
I'm so jealous.
yeah. But the thing, one of these things that all of these neurological
Disorders,
disorders, whatever,
malfunctions,
otherly functions, I guess is what you call. But anyway, one of the things is that it doesn't allow him to really understand, because his big complaint is that he can't get a woman to be interested in him. And I'm like,
well, if he taped $100 bill to his dong, he probably could at least get.
well, if he was schizophrenic, he could get two.
What's the one line he does? I asked,
maybe he could go to the Albert DeSalvo How to Pick Up Women course.
Who made a great living in the wrestling world as the Strangler.
Yeah.
And who else but my dear friends would get an Albert DeSalvo?
God bless both of us.
But if we were sitting now, Sam, if you and Jason and I were sitting with this Joe fella I'm talking about, and I'm saying this in public, normally this is like backstage stuff, so I'm trying to be careful here because I'm sure this might get back to him. But if anybody watched this,
No, you know.
But anyway,
well, I'm not saying anything that I haven't said to him.
Neither here nor there. Every time we get into this where we're taking his bit and we're like feeding him lines, he's not listening to the laughter that's happening from it. He's going, "Oh, they didn't get me." No, we didn't get you. We're giving you lines that are funnier than what you had, and we're all having a good time with it. And you're upset because you didn't come up with that line.
And
take the line we're giving you and use it, and it's just a bizarre situation. And there's a lot of people like that. We have a lot of the young. I'm talking about the under 30s now, where I said, "Man, I'd like to." I told Tanner Oliver a few times back when we were doing it at the Mix. Yeah. Tanner had some great lines, and I said, "I'll buy it. I'll buy that line." He goes, "What do you mean buy the line?" I go, I give you $35 to $60, whatever we can agree on, and then I do the joke and you don't do it anymore. He goes, "Well, why would you do that? That's my joke." I go,
"Wow."
Yeah. And then what'll happen is I'll give you money and it'll be my joke and not your joke anymore.
You see, he's got a joke that I've wanted. I mean, I've used it not on stage. I've used it personally, talking to people, and it really works well. He was talking about the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
I was being asked a question about frozen soup.
He had this old joke about how in America, if life gives you lemons, we say make lemonade. Here in Soviet Union, we say, what makes you think you deserve lemon?
Oh, that's funny.
It's a great joke. And when
funny.
when you couple that with the other joke, there aren't many jokes about the Cold War. Let's face it, not the most humorous part. But the other joke, and again, this is kind of a street joke, but it's two comrades are drinking at a bar, and one says to the other, "Comrade, what do you do in case imperialists attack with nuclear weapon?" "Well, it's very simple. You put on white sheet and walk slowly to cemetery." "Well, why slowly?" "Well, you don't want to start panic."
That's funny.
You
You know
put a couple of
who
those
does
jokes
a bit
together.
But my
Soviet
point
Union.
is that these kids now, they don't buy or sell jokes.
No.
I just don't get that.
Well, you know, in a way, it works to your advantage, because what I would do if I was there is I would just use their joke, and then when they say that's my joke, I don't think so. I think that's mine. What makes you think it's yours? Because if they're not smart enough, and I'm sorry, this goes to intellect. It does.
Yeah.
If you're not smart enough to understand transactional bartering, then you're fair game. And by the way, Leno used to pay 25 for a joke, so 35. No, 20, and we're done.
Yeah.
No, if Leno's paying 25, no, sir.
Well, you know, Rodney, and I don't know when you last heard about Jay Leno buying jokes. He did that fax service. I used to send jokes into the fax number all the time, but he had to raise his price because Joan Rivers, Rodney Dangerfield, and David Letterman went to 75.
Wow.
How many people would say a back room on any of those shows? Jones.
Say that again. How many people? What?
How many writers would be in the back room on a show like Leno, Letterman, or Joan when she had her?
With Letterman,
show?
it was quite a bit. With Leno, it was about 3 or 4, and with
Okay.
Rodney, it was like 1 or 2. With Joan, it was 1.
Really?
It was Larry Amorose.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
In
our
fact,
friend Stu Cassell has a couple of checks he saved from or photocopied from Joan Rivers. Do you remember Stu Cassell?
me?
Yeah.
No, I remember Sue Costello.
No. Stu Cassell was a Jewish comic from here in Detroit, and he spent some time in L.A. Probably about. He was out there just after the strike here out in LA. That was 79. So he would have gone out there like in 80 and spent about 6 years out there. And he finally got out of it eventually, but he still wrote all the time. And he has some great remnants. In other words, he would photocopy. He says, "Yeah, I'm not know how long I'm going to do this. I'm going to make copies of the stuff I sold to Joan Rivers and Rodney Dangerfield." Yeah.
Do you remember Stu Trivax?
I sure do.
For your benefit, Jason, Stu Trivax was a comic from New York. Bald. He looks like an accountant. Bald, mustache, horn-rimmed glasses, but he looks kind of wimpy, right? But he comes on stage like, "I know what you're thinking. How hip can one guy be?" You know, he completely went again.
Him.
So this guy, I'll never forget this. Boy, talk about, well, it's not tragic in the sense of he died or anything, but he was offered a cast membership on Seinfeld.
Oh.
And he's an Orthodox Jew.
Oh no, I hear.
And he said, "I have to ask my rabbi."
Oh no.
Now, see, I could understand you would have to say to your rabbi, "Is it okay if I work Fridays?" But if you're asking your rabbi, "Is it okay if you take a job?" then you're a little too, no. So
No.
You might
the
be
Seinfeld
you might
people
be in a
said,
cult. You just might be in a cult. You might be in a cult if you're asking.
You might be. So the Seinfeld people, who by the way are chock full of Jews, said, "Here's what's going to happen. We're going to give you a week, and then we're giving it to someone else."
Yep.
And he turned it down because his rabbi, who should be burned, talk about burned alive, his rabbi told him, "Don't take it because of the in the book of the you know." And so he did. Now, do you know who took that part? Wayne Knight.
Oh.
They were creating the character of Newman.
Newman.
Oh
wow.
And
Well,
it would have been him.
They don't look anything alike either. That's
No,
amazing.
but
Being Newman.
it's an obnoxious character,
Right.
and so they were centered around that. The difference is
Stewart have done a great job of that.
yeah, oh yeah. The difference is that the Stu Trivex Newman would have been a little edgier, believe it or not. It would have been edgier, but to turn it down, I mean, that's not a rabbi. No, that guy's working for CBS. He's trying to screw NBC. No, come on, that's ridiculous.
Whatever became of Mark? Whatever became of Stu?
I don't know.
How about Mark Weiner? Whatever became of him? I don't see him around anymore.
Because
he was another devout. He was another one that didn't.
He wouldn't work on Fridays.
He wouldn't work on Fridays. Yeah, he went but he worked. He worked at a time. I worked with him in San Antonio, and I was the opener. Dennis Miller was the middle, and Mark and the Weinerettes were the headliners. And Dennis and I just moved up on Friday night, and then Mark came back on Saturday.
Yeah, no, he. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, there's a couple of guys like him. What's his name? Schiff, Mark Schiff.
Mark Schiff is another one. He opens for Seinfeld.
Santa's here.
Hey, I want to show you the real Santa, though. I'm going to interview him right now.
You sound like you have a gun to his head.
So, Santa, can you hear me, Santa? You're different to me, Santa. I don't know why you're doing that, but Santa, tell me why you're frozen out here.
Mommy, there's
like an indifferent God. He refuses to speak.
I
know.
I don't want to cast aspersions on that Santa, but whatever that is beneath his chin doesn't look like a beard.
I don't know. Yes, I think you're right. There's a belly there somewhere.
It's either shaving cream or a porn director saying, "And cut."
Well, I think he's part of the. I'm not sure if he's part of the new sort of. The way he raises his hand could look a little bit of a new sort of Republican sort of group there.
Or a Santa Nazi.
Yeah, I would say so. He's got the same colors. All right, I just wanted to say.
All right.
Ho, 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 and Merry Christmas to Mr. Santa here.
And somewhere in the background, there's a small child looking at Andy going, "Hey, where the fuck is my sled?"
And I don't know if he really likes, Exxon, but okay, maybe BP Gas. That's where he lives, at BP Gas.
Oh, God, you leave a romantic tale, brother.
I know. I just keep it.
Look with the Star Trek. With the Star Trek lanyard. That's nice.
Thank you, folks. Looking at Star Trek. I believe in so many things.
Well, I was about to say, you look like a Melvin Belli lighting double from the same episode there. He had his one dramatic turn as a evil angel / demon. It didn't work so good. Although you think casting Belli would have been actually a perfect choice.
I was trying to work on my speech from Twilight Zone and Inherit the Meek from the episode where he talks. He's the drunken Santa who becomes Art Carney.
There you go. Hey, nobody got better
on
speeches or
34th
soliloquies than Jack
The
Klugman.
Santa in the beginning of it was drunk. And
that's right.
Why the Santa that we grew to love in Miracle on 34th Street took over.
Yeah, because the other one was drunk. Was that Macy's or Gimbel's? I can't remember.
Macy's. It's all Macy's. There's a fight with Gimbel's and Macy's at the same time.
And Gimbel said, "Well, if they can do this, we can do this." But no, it was Macy's.
Yeah.
John Payne, Maureen O'Hara, and Natalie Wood.
There you go.
As the kid.
The department store in Detroit that started our parade over 100 years ago was Hudson's.
Yes.
And Hudson's merged with Dayton's in Minneapolis, and then they got bought by Marshall Field's in Chicago, which eventually bought Macy's. So now all our Hudson stores are Macy's stores. And of course, the parade was, I think the last Hudson, J.L. Hudson III, once he passed away, Hudson's wasn't a store anymore. So the parade wasn't the Hudson's parade anymore. And a local furniture store took it over for a while.
Wow.
And then they went bankrupt after a
Say it wasn't the Joshua Door will find your body in the bottom of a.
No, it wasn't. No,
Okay.
it was no. The people that bought Art Van furniture were one of those not in the business of whatever the business they were buying. They were in the business of buying something, dismantling it,
Yes.
and selling
It's
it off for
called
parts.
it's called vulture capitalism.
Yeah, I just want to say a few things for Santa.
Yeah.
If your kid has trouble, like if your kid says, if you have to say to your kid, don't bite Santa, don't bring him to the set. Okay, that's what I'm
No,
saying.
no.
If your kid gets nervous and bites, don't bring him to the set. That's what I'm
So
saying.
Are you saying you got bit this year?
No, I said a kid tried to bite me 3 times in my lap. I said, no,
Right there.
stop biting.
You didn't
Hey,
hear
take a
his
smile.
whispers
Stop
of they're not.
biting.
You didn't hear their whispers of they're not feeding me.
They're not feeding me.
Santa,
Speaking
Santa,
of which,
please help me, Santa. Please.
speaking of which,
I should have gotten a notice when they had a muzzle for him. It's like, stop biting Santa or you're going to have the muzzle, okay? The other one was...
So you guys did hear about the west side of Michigan, because the west side of Michigan is like the sort of northern part of Florida. It's where the crazies go. And we had the one insane mother who beat her and starved and tortured her autistic child to death.
Oh, God.
She was on court TV. Hey, it's the holiday season, Sam. It's what I do. Yeah, and but she was convicted mercifully.
Well, that's good.
I hope she
Well,
dies in jail from torture.
I agree. Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go along with that.
Kid
The
doesn't
other
have
thing
enough
too
problems.
is, if your kid pinches when she's nervous, don't bring her to the set. Okay.
She was a clerk for a law firm, for a judge, for a circuit court judge. This woman had passed the bar, super high IQ, and yet was just an absolutely evil monster. And again, west side of I mean, you guys have heard me rail about how inbred and awful the west side of the state of Michigan
Roast
is.
the whore over a spit.
We put a few years ago. We put all of our digitized photos on Google Photos.
Yeah,
and I pay for additional storage for a number of things, but photos is one of them. And every day I get here's what happened 12 years ago. Here's what happened 15 years ago. So I get to see a lot of these holiday photos. And I'm telling you, the magical age for kids and Santa is 4 and 5.
Yeah.
You just see it. When my kids were 4 and 5, Santa wasn't scary anymore. And he could do things your parents couldn't do, like bring you the gift your parents. And, now my kids are old enough to know that, we faked not wanting to get them the prize they wanted so that they would have more fun with Santa's opening,
Got it.
That's a magical time.
Yeah, when they hit 6 years old, they go to school and all the Jasons just reveal the world to them,
Hey, what do they
there is no Santa Claus.
Never mind.
Now, for your training for Santa, I haven't done any formal training, but for your training, Andy, what did they tell you about kids that wanted their parents to get back together, or just, like impossible gift requests and things like that?
Not going to happen. Next kid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm sorry, but that's not Santa's realm. That's up to your parents, but it has nothing to do with you. So what toy do you want this year?
Let me give you the name of Sidney Cohen. He's a fine lawyer, and he'll work this out for you.
There's a guy named Schwartz. He's a great psychologist. I'll give you his number, okay? All right.
Probably it's not what to say, it's what not to say. Never say, oh, you think it's not you?
That's right. It's because of you, kid. That's where they're breaking up. Now what toy do you want before they break up? Okay.
Young man,
they had this thing on. I think it was Family Guy where there was a character called Duff Man.
Yeah.
No, that's Simpsons.
That's the Simpsons.
Yeah. And I love this line. Duff Man scores with a woman, and she goes, "You told me you'd marry me." Duff Man says a lot of things.
My son Gabriel uses that line all the time. It's totally out of context, but everybody in the family gets it. Say something like,
Duff Man says a lot of things.
Yeah, we would have said, like, I thought we were going to dinner at 8, and so my kid will go, Duff Man says a lot of things. It's like, whatever it is. That sort of absolves you of everything that you might have ever said.
Oh God, that's funny.
I'm not so sure that I missed things being not straight. Maybe I got ahead of the game here, I mean, although the flames of hell are waiting for me, we know that, whether the Pope gives his blessings or not. So
I think that people, and I mean this, I don't believe in hell or heaven, but
Oh.
if I did, boy, talk about clearing up your conscience. But if I did, I think that hell is meant for people who don't think like you do. I think I do, because there's something wrong with them, and it needs to be put down into a place where other people like them agree. I really mean it. You know, if you're bad, you're going to hell. Well, what could be worse than denying someone a life? That woman who hurt that child,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
she's certainly going to hell.
We can hope. We can hope.
What
I mean,
Woody Allen movie? Take the money and run. He was sent. He broke a law, and he was sentenced to 3 months in a cellar with a life insurance salesman. And as they're going down the stairs, the life insurance salesman says, "Now we have whole life. We have life paid up at 65. We have."
That's so funny. That is so funny.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Stick them up. I have a gub. What is this?
A gub. Stick him up. I have a gub.
Gub.
I think he reached his comedic peak with Sleeper, though. I mean, in terms of just like jokes per minute.
In terms of just straight humor.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
jokes
I
per
agree,
minute.
because after that, I mean, they were still funny, but there was also other heavy themes.
Well,
You know,
Annie's
Crimes and
funny.
Misdemeanors
Annie's
is about a
always
woman who got
clever.
murdered.
My favorite,
Yeah,
my favorite
I can-
scene from Sleeper is he gets into a Volkswagen, turns it on, and said, "Boy, they made these cars really good." You know, it's been sitting there for 100 years and it starts right up.
I think Midnight in Paris is a film classic in any era. You know, I just think that's a great film.
Oh man, the line in that I'll never forget. He goes when he's talking to Marianne Cotillard, and he says, "You don't understand. You're going back to an era they didn't have." And he wasn't being funny. It was like he was really trying to convince her. You know, with Owen Wilson, he's trying to convince her not to do this. He's saying, "You don't understand. You're going back to an era. There was no Novocaine. There was no sedative." But it wasn't a joke. It wasn't. I don't think it was written to be funny. I think he was. And this man is actually trying to convince this woman, "What are you doing?"
Right.
You know,
Well,
because
look
you're
at-
romantic, and you'll be there with Gauguin.
Yeah.
You know.
Albert Brooks, the often
And if you want,
Albert Brooks and the movie he made about his mother. Again,
Oh, you mean with Debbie Reynolds?
Yeah, the thing
Yeah.
about
Oh,
Brooks is
that's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
That is a good
but
movie.
The thing is, there's
I told you guys
humor,
last week I
but
saw
it's
it with
very
my mom.
clever. It's not about jokes. It's about being clever. It's about, kind of setups that are
That's
a little
right.
more drawn out.
Well, I tell you what, I take one of the best. In fact, when I was in film school, in college, I studied film. Look what that got me. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Bitter. Let's move along.
All right.
But anyway,
Always bringing up the fact that you have some sort of education in film. Thank you.
They had an Allen clip that they used, sort of like how to tell a story without words, with just pictures. And they show you the shot of Christopher Walken driving them to the airport.
Oh my God!
Is that one of the
greatest?
greatest?
The windshield wipers flapping.
Yes, one of the greatest cinematic shots, comedy or otherwise.
Because she's oblivious.
Yes. Yes,
because that's her brother Dwayne, and Woody, and the look on Woody Allen's face.
In the shot just before, Walken is talking about wanting to kill himself and driving into oncoming traffic. And so you see the scene with Walken's face, and he's very determined and very, very on focus. So you got in your mind what he said, and then they pan, and there's Diane Keaton, oblivious to any of this conversation that Walken and Allen had. And
Another
then you just
great
keep
actress.
panning over to Woody Allen, who's in the passenger side. And it's just white death is on his face. It's just so funny. God, one of the best movie scenes I've ever seen.
Did Woody have an affair with Diane Keaton, or did he just find her? Okay,
affair.
Right.
They lived together. They lived together.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I mean,
she did about 5 films, and then she did Reds with Warren Beatty, and that ended that. So
I thought Reds was a brilliant movie, and there was one critic who wrote, "You know what this is? It's Annie Hall Goes to Russia," and I went, "That's not true. It's funny, but that's not true."
Is that Vincent Canby? That sounds like something Canby would write. I mean,
but by the way, do you know how old what was his name? Jack was when he died?
Who?
Jack Reed, John Reed.
I have no idea.
He was like 33.
Yeah.
I mean, he got through the Russian Revolution. Well, actually, the Bolshevik coup
Oh,
d'état
and the
and the
scenes
Civil
with him
War.
and the scenes with him and Jerzy Kosinski.
You got
Yeah.
Jerzy Kosinski.
It's great.
God, didn't he write as well? If I'm not mistaken, he wrote.
Yeah.
No,
Being
he
There?
was a writer.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
wrote Being There, didn't he? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah, but no, he was a writer much
Yeah.
more before. Him being in that movie was like a courtesy piece. No,
I see.
but what a cast! I mean,
Yeah.
and also what's his name? The guy who wrote Paper Lion.
Plimpton.
Oh God,
George Plimpton.
George
Plimpton
Plimpton.
was in it.
God,
Yeah.
there was another guy who knew how to do that waspy, dry as hell humor.
That's
And
because
pull
he
it
was
off.
a dry wasp.
Well, I didn't say he wasn't reaching. He's
No,
you
it
know,
wasn't. It wasn't a stretch. And Gene
No.
Hackman was in that movie.
Yeah.
Paul
God damn.
Sorvino was in that movie. William
Oh.
Daniels was in that movie.
It was a great film. That was an excellent film.
Yeah, it is.
Jack
It's sort
Nicholson,
of
Jack Nicholson playing Eugene O'Neill was great.
Oh, Nicholson. You know, Nicholson fell in love with her during that movie and wrote her love poems.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
So art imitated life. I mean, yeah, he really fell for her.
But who
I can
didn't
understand falling for her. She was beautiful.
Yeah.
Who didn't fall for Patricia O'Neill in HUD? Come on, I know, different movie, but come on.
Wasn't
Okay.
O'Neill, it was just Patricia Neal.
Neil,
Patricia
it was
Neal,
O'Neill. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm old. Nevertheless, when she and Paul Newman are having that scene and they're kind of dancing around, something happening, and she says, "Yeah, there were a few times I was thinking about putting down my dish rag," and the way she delivers that line with the look in her eye, and Paul Newman, of course, being and I think that is that a Sidney Lumet movie or is that
No,
Elia
no,
Kazan?
no,
No, it's not
no,
Lumet.
neither. I'll look it up, but no, neither.
But it's a wonderful movie. Unfortunately, the guy who played the youngest brother, he died really young. But it's got some wonderful acting in there. And I remember that's when I kind of felt O'Neill. I don't know why I call her O'Neill, but Patricia Neal. Yes, she was always one of my favorite actresses.
Oh, she won an Oscar for that movie.
She should have.
And Melvin Douglas won an Oscar for that movie.
Yeah.
Who looked a lot like my father. My father looked a lot like him. Whatever.
Well, she also was in The Fountainhead with
Gary Cooper.
Gary Cooper.
Yes.
And
She also was in Facing the Crowd with Andy Griffith.
Oh man,
Another
they
fine
talk
movie.
about a movie.
Fan-
And
oh,
that was
Geezer night,
Elia
folks.
Kazan.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's geezer night. Yes, folks, there it is. All you youngins.
Are you talking about Brandon DeWild?
Yes, I am. He died
How old
way
was he
too
when
young.
he died? Let's see.
Like
No, he was
27?
30.
30,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, he
Wow.
had his run. The hell with him.
That's
Oh.
right. He
Oh,
really
it had one of my
does.
favorite character actors with a great name. You ready?
Yeah.
Whit Bissell.
God, yes. He plays the doctor or the
He
veterinarian.
always plays a doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite name for a character actor. Oh, God! It just slipped in my head.
That's
Rondo
not a good
Hatton.
name.
Rondo Hatton.
Rondo Hack.
Rondo Hatton. Yes.
How about
What
Bird
what
Benning?
what
Remember
does
Bird
his
Benning?
cinema? What is his?
He was like a bald guy, always playing these villains in the 30s and 50s.
Okay.
And he's always playing a heavy. He's like, what do you think you are, Rondo Hatton?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let me show you something here. In this movie, HUD,
Yes.
listen to
Yeah.
some of the names. These are the real. I don't know if they're the real names, but these are the names of the actors. They're not their characters' names. You ready?
Yeah.
Pitt Herbert,
Yep.
Carl Lowe,
Yep.
Bobby Hinkle.
Yep.
Okay, hang on. Here's my favorite. Wag Blessing.
Yes.
Now, Wag had such a small career that his headshot shows on it him signing an autograph. All right, he wrote something on this a piece of paper. Oh, he's a show spectator, so he's really not that. Oh, Martin Ritt directed it,
Right. Okay.
and he was a blacklisted director.
Really. Well, weren't they pretty much everyone blacklisted who had talent at
Well,
one
you know,
point
in
or
the
another?
movie, what was the movie Woody Allen did about that?
I mean, Ring Lardner, who wrote quite a few things, and he was, of course,
What was that
black.
movie? What was that movie that Woody Allen did about the blacklist?
The
front.
the front.
The front.
The front,
Everybody in that movie,
Was
except for
blacklisted.
him, was
Blacklisted.
blacklisted, and he was, you know, in the movie. They're trying to get around it, and they're paying him. You know, in other words, they would write it, and they'd
Right.
give him, those guys, 10% of their money so that
Yeah.
they could, you know, stay alive.
Yeah.
And what was her name? Andrea Markovici, you know, plays the Herschel Bernardi was blacklisted. Shelley
You're
Hack
kidding.
was Shelley.
Zero Mostel. Zero Mostel was in there too.
God.
Yes. Philip Loeb, who played on the Goldbergs, was blacklisted and committed suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Who was the oh gosh, the guy who wrote Johnny Got His Gun, which I find to be
Wasn't that Ring Lardner?
I think it was a terrifying movie, in my opinion. I have a hard time with that movie. It's a great movie, but it's terrifying all at the same time. The thought of that you're you're locked in. Your arms and legs are gone. You can't communicate. I mean, it's and I understand. You know, it's a meditation on war and the horrible things that war does, and he executes it beautifully. But it's still a terrifying movie, and especially, you know, it comes out in like 1971 when we're in the middle of again, just, well, I don't need to tell you guys, we're in the middle of Vietnam, and it's just it's fucking awful. And
Yeah.
So Zero Mostel was in it. Herschel
Yep.
Bernardi, Michael Murphy, who was not blacklisted.
Yeah.
Andrea Markovici,
right,
who I admire greatly because her headshot shows her as she looks today.
right,
Martin Lichterman, Ramak Ramsey, who played Meryl Streep's father in Julie and Julia. Lloyd Guff, David Margulies, Joshua Shelley played the owner of the Catskills place where the Zero Mostel character performed,
right.
and he underpaid him, and Mostel's character went for his throat. And Joshua Shelley, I know this story, he said, "You'll never work again, you commie son of a bitch." And Woody Allen said it was very hard for Joshua Shelley to say that. It was very, very tough for him to say that.
Oh, I can
because
imagine.
he wasn't. You know, the thing was, these guys, some of these guys were commies.
Yeah.
They were. But they're not, you know, they're going to overthrow the government. Calm down. They might as well have been in the Elks. You know, please. You know, they weren't hurting anyone. They were like these. What was the line that Zero Mostel said? "I got into it because there was this girl with a great ass."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen Mission to Moscow? Which again was made at a time when Roosevelt was engaging in a rapprochement with the Soviet government at the time. And so Mission to Moscow is about our ambassador going to Moscow and reestablishing relations, and basically it's a love letter to the Stalin show trials. But it's a movie that the government wanted made. Roosevelt wanted these kinds of movies made. And then later on, the people who made them were pilloried for making the movies that the government wanted made. You know, I don't know. It sucked.
so
Mark is
Andy
back.
Reid was asked about Taylor Swift.
All right.
And he said, "Kelsey seems to be getting better with every game. She can stay around all she wants."
Well, there you
Oh
go.
my God. Hasn't that thing gone a little too far? I mean, at this point, who cares? I mean,
They're going to get married. They will.
Good
The
for
NFL
them.
loves it. The
I
NFL loves it because it tapped a market that they hadn't been able to tap.
What, all
Oh,
the
yeah.
Swift fans that are showing up to watch
No,
the Chiefs
you
play?
don't say it. Swifties. They're all Swifties.
Oh my God, that sounds like something you clean the floor with.
Hey, I know, but that's what they call themselves, and they're the strangest cult you'll ever have to try and get and pick up. You know.
Oh, I don't know, the God Hates Fags group. I think they kind of outdo them in terms of strangeness. But
You know,
Ah.
that thing before Andy got here, we were talking about Megyn Kelly. And
yeah,
she
Yeah.
wants all these teenage girls. This is I can't say it without laughing. She wants all these teenage girls to boycott Taylor Swift because she asked for peace in the Middle East. And I thought, I said this, I said, if there is one person on the planet who those girls aren't listening to, it's Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, find me the girl who goes, oh, I think she's right. I think she'll be beaten to death by her friends. Are you kidding me? You got to.
Or worse, they'll give her the silent treatment.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah,
That would
yeah.
be worse.
That would,
But it just amazes me.
Yeah.
You know, Megyn Kelly was on NBC. She had a show after the Today Show, and according to my inside sources,
Yeah.
How did she lose
she
that? I
was
can't
so
remember.
tough to work with. She got fired.
Yeah, but what did she?
Yeah.
She did something to get fired. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, she showed up. Oh, by the way, I was reading a thing online today about people who are horrible to work with, but you couldn't tell because the acting is so good.
Right.
Julia Roberts, 3 different times.
Wow.
Julia
she delivers.
Roberts with Nick Nolte, Julia Roberts with Hugh Grant, Julia Roberts with Richard Gere.
Wow.
She delivers. I mean, yeah, she's a pain. Maybe she is a pain in the ass.
But she's
She's
a great.
good.
But you couldn't tell by the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about what Steve, the guy who does Family Feud, having some
Steve-
rules about
Steve Harvey.
Harvey.
Yeah, and saying, listen, when I come in, I don't want people getting around me. I don't want them asking questions. And you know what? It sounds dickish at first, but then you got to realize,
Oh no, I'm
This-
fine with that.
this guy's got a show to do.
No, I'm fine
Yeah,
with that. He's trying to
exactly.
focus. Oh, by the
Yes.
way, they said the all-time champion for horrible person to work with, Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
Oh,
When
there you go.
Saturday Night Live, he came back as a host,
Yeah,
and Saturday Night Live had one gay actor, Terry Sweeney.
I remember
And
Terry
he-
Sweeney.
and he would greet Terry Sweeney by "Morning, homo," and then and he was it wasn't like being funny, and then he asked Terry Sweeney, or he said to Terry Sweeney, "I think we should weigh you every day because every time you're losing weight, it probably means you have AIDS."
Oh,
He was in that show about the community college.
Yeah,
on NBC.
Community.
Yeah, Community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the
Community.
last season, and I heard the last season. This is just what I heard. It wasn't anything that was public, but I was out there during the taping of the last season, and they said that they pretty much wrote every scene. If you see the last season, every scene only had Chevy and maybe some guest actors. They didn't have none of the regular cast would ever actually work with them
Right.
by the time they got to the last season.
Well, that's
Yeah.
like Three's Company with Suzanne Summers.
Yes.
Then when they
Well,
negotiated.
that was a union thing, wasn't it? Wasn't that a
No,
strike?
no.
Well, a
no.
contract thing.
No, it was a contract. The 3 actors, John Ritter,
Joyce DeWitt.
her, and Susan, what was it? Joyce DeWitt.
Joyce
They had an
DeWitt, yeah.
agreement among each other. We'll only negotiate as a unit.
Right.
And then she got married to Alan Hamill, and he decided, no, she's bigger than both of them. And
Right.
so he demanded a huge salary plus 5% of the gross. And they didn't fire her. They did something worse than fire her. They put her on split screen. So she was
Right.
supposed to be in Alabama taking care of her mother.
Oh,
And
right.
they had her on for the end of the show for 1 minute.
Oh,
But
boy.
she had to honor the contract. 1 minute.
Yep.
God, that
And that
upset
time-
Mark so much he died.
That ties her up.
Yeah, couldn't do anything
she-
about it.
Can't get any other. Well, didn't David Caruso, who also put a dagger in his own career on a couple of different occasions?
Well, he kicked on NYPD Blue. He kicked a,
Yeah.
a trash can across the floor and
Right.
hit somebody.
That sounds about right. It definitely.
Well, Shelley
I mean-
Long left Cheers because she thought she was going to be a big movie star, and look what happened there.
How'd that work out?
Well,
of
she did.
course-
Wait a minute. Now, let's be fair. She did hello again. Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
And who could forget McLean Stevenson's
She outlived
attempts at a career?
Kirstie Alley, of course.
McLean Stevenson said he doesn't regret what he did. He said he got 3 pilots for that. One of
Yeah.
them lasted a couple of years. He said he made more money
Yeah.
from those 3 things than he would have ever gotten in MASH. and it's the same reason that what's his name, Wayne
Well,
Rogers
Wayne Newton,
quit.
Wayne
He
Rogers
said
quit.
he got tired of saying, Martini Hawkeye. They got
Yeah.
tired of it. And also,
Poor
Wayne
Larry
Rogers was
Lindsdale,
an
he got his
investment
own
counselor
show
for
for a
big
couple
names.
years.
Uh-oh. Sounds like the end of the show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
we've come to the end of our hour, gang. Boy, this was fun. Went by real quick. So this is for everybody out there that's watching. Please hit the like button. If you made it this far, go ahead. You must have liked it. So hit the
What
like
are you,
button.
punks?
Yeah.
Right, subscribe.
Like button and subscribe to the channel. That helps us out.
Include us in your
And,
will if you're getting to be.
We're here
that
every Monday
age.
night. Now next week, I propose we do two. We could have talked about this before now, but I propose Tuesday because next Monday is Christmas.
Oh, is that a holiday? Said the Jew.
Hey, we're gonna be eating Chinese while you're sitting there opening presents, okay?
Now the
I'm
only
going to
way
have
this-
Chinese and go and eat and watch a movie. All right.
There you go.
That-
Yep.
We'll do
Wait a minute,
two-
that's what I do on Christmas.
All right, we'll do Tuesday next week. Now the following
That's what I
week-
do, Andy.
I know. That's what
Where's
Santa
Sam?
does.
Sam is face down in dim sum. That's where Sam is.
All right, we will be here
Yeah.
Tuesday. So this is for the audience. We'll be here Tuesday next week. The week after that, we'll talk about that after we go off the live.
Well, the week
screencast.
after that is my birthday, so I want to hear I want to see candles.
We'll see. We'll work out something.
Of course,
But anyway,
at my
I gotta
age,
get
it would
out, I
start
gotta get out of
fire.
here. We're at the end of our hour. Thank you for joining us here on YouTube or wherever you're viewing. We prefer that you go to YouTube, even if you're linked in somewhere else, and give us a like and a subscribe there, because that helps our numbers, and we want to monetize this at some point. So do that for us.
Just do it, God damn it.
Thank you very much. We will see everybody next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. Good night, everybody.
Now